Welcome. Oh, it did stay behind there. That was a weird background thing I was trying. This is something I've been working on the talks of for weeks. This is NFL Talk, where we're going to go through all of our game lineups, through all the games this week for Week One, going through predictions, see how well we do in the next week when we'll get some more news. This is just a late upload due to work schedules, so it's kind of the only real time I have to do this. So we'll do this now. Hopefully, we can fit in sooner in the week, uh, before the next Thursday game to get some more news in there. But we start the season tonight. This is the first game. This is Detroit going up against Kansas City at home. It's going to be interesting to see how this goes. Detroit last year, I thought towards the end showed some sparks of life where it's like, hey, what happened to this Detroit that was, just lackluster all last season? But they gave up some pieces. There's been some people leaving, going elsewhere, like every end of season happens, trading, what have you. So it's going to be interesting to see if Jared Goff can get a win or at least a respectable showing with this Detroit team because I think Kansas City is just going to uh, clean house with Detroit. I really do. I think they have the better overall team offensively and defensively. And even though at still this recording, Travis Kelsey is still listed as questionable, um, I think even without him, there's still enough offensive firepower to really get past Detroit's defense to really have a dominating win. I want to say final score probably 28-7. That's probably Detroit's best case scenario, is at least getting a touchdown on the board to not be blown out. But like I said, I still think Kansas City overall is going to be the far better team. So, but that's it for tonight's game. Then we go into Sunday, which really kicks it off with our 1 p.m. games. The first one we'll cover is Carolina going to Atlanta, divisional NFC South matchup, which usually I don't like to talk about preseason because preseason is more you see the guys who are vying for the backup roles and the third place roles, just vying for a spot on the teams. I did watch a few preseason games just to see how some of these backups are going to do, especially for Cowboys because I'm a Cowboys fan. Um, and I remember, I think it was week 3. It was Pittsburgh and Atlanta, and God, it was hard to watch. Where it was like Atlanta, they were there in physical form, but in spirit, it was they were already checked out. I don't know if that's going to carry on to the season. I hope not. I hope they're going to be you know a formidable force at least in their own division, um, because there is a lot of turmoil with that division. I mean, Tom Brady held it down with the Buccaneers for the past few years. I think Drew Brees before that with the New Orleans Saints. Now it really kind of is an open division, really, because I think all the teams are on fair footings of rebuilding and starting out. With Carolina, you have a rookie quarterback going in there with C.J. Stroud. So, or, I mean Bryce Young. I'm sorry, C.J. Stroud is Houston. I'm sorry, but a young quarterback going in there. Atlanta, I think ever since the days of after Matt Ryan, they've been just in perpetual rebuild mode. Yes, they have solid pieces. They have Pitts, the tight end, which I really think he's very good. I kind of wish Dallas would have picked him up, but yeah, tomato, tomato. Um, Other than that, I don't see Atlanta as a strong team this year. I think those days of dominant regular season wins is gone. I think they've been gone ever since Matt Ryan and a few others left during that last run. Now it's just kind of a we're here team. It's kind of like a Detroit Lions situation. It's just a giant mess, and I think uh, Carolina with Christian McCaffrey going to San Fran, I really do think that's going to hurt him because Christian McCaffrey is still a running back force to be reckoned with. So, oh God, I think Carolina pulls it out. I think it's a very close victory. Um, just because I think Carolina's defense is going to be a whole hell of a lot better, but their offense to me is still going to be questionable of whether they can, uh, if they can score, and then if they can consistently score. It's really going to depend on that. But I think they have a solid enough defense with a few key pieces there to at least hold Atlanta of all things. Um, Adam Thielen, DJ Clark, of course, questionable for Carolina. And it's weird seeing Thielen in a new team after all these years. It's really weird seeing that, but we have players traded and moving all the time, but long time pieces, players for teams, it's weird seeing them go elsewhere. Like we'll talk about through a couple games coming up because there's a couple players like that, but that's my thought for there. And then of course we have Houston and Baltimore. Houston going to Baltimore in this week 1 matchup, which I don't see it ending well for Houston at all. Um, a lot of questions with Baltimore is Lamar Jackson. Uh, can he still play at the same level as he has been? Of course, with the pickup of Odell Beckham Jr. at wide receiver, which he is questionable. So is Mark Andrews' wonderful tight end presence. Really a heavy force on that offense for weapons is Mark Andrews with that team with Lamar. But if they do, I don't see Houston's defense putting up much of a fight. It's going to be bad. It's going to be a high scoring game. I think it's going to be very high scoring. I think it's going to be. Maybe I ought to get a green screen invest in that. I kind of like that, but when you kind of said it was weird. But yeah, I just see Baltimore's offense just running wild over Houston's defense. I'd like to see a close game, but I think Baltimore's going to heavily win this one. So that's it for that, and of course we'll move on to one. Even though yes, I'm a Cowboys fan, but I'm an NFC fan. I do love to see certain rivalry games in AFC, and especially in the AFC North, we have Cincinnati going to Cleveland. In this one, I will say it's going to be close. I will say it's going to be probably a touchdown that goes in between this because Cincinnati, they've just gotten better and better ever since the introduction of Burrows, and of course with Mixon, with Chase, you have a very good offensive unit, very good defensive unit. I mean, these were Super Bowl contenders here not too long ago. Um, so I think they beat Cleveland just because of the fact I love the pieces Cleveland has in place on their wide receiver core. Chubb is just is just a beast. He really is. He's just a beast. Um, even even defensively, for a lot of pieces they have, very strong pieces, especially on that line. But I think their question has always been quarterback because Deshaun Watson is kind of overrated. He really is. He's been overrated since Houston. He's overrated now. He should not have been signed for the ungodly salary that he got. That is Cleveland just basically burning money. That's all that is. That is Cleveland burning money and just saying, fuck it, we're going to see what happens. If they had more of a solid quarterback, I could see them. And since it's really going to be, it's probably going to be Cincinnati's division if Baltimore doesn't play like we've seen them play before, just ungodly. It's probably going to be It's probably going to be Cincinnati's division to lose. But I think with a better quarterback presence, and this is just my opinion. Everyone's going to have their own opinion. Everyone's, because we'll think Deshaun Watson is just great, but I really haven't seen it. I think if they had a better quarterback presence, maybe if they got, I don't know, Jimmy G or maybe one of these rookies that came out, could have got a Bryce Young, maybe a CJ Stroud. Who knows? But I think Cincinnati is going to win this one close, even though I'd love to see Cleveland win. I always love cheering for that Cleveland underdog because I never really liked the Steelers, and I live in an area that's predominantly Steelers. Pitt football for college, the Penguins hockey, just predominantly Pittsburgh. And it annoys the crap out of me, especially as a Dallas fan, but that's regardless. I can see Cincinnati winning this by a touchdown. It's going to be real close. It could even be by a field goal. But I think this one's going to be real close. It's going to be a good matchup. It's going to be. I'd love to see Deshaun Watson lead this team to victory, but it's been a while since he's played. So we'll see how well he does with a full season under his belt. We'll see. But our next one after that, of course, we have Jacksonville and Indianapolis. Jacksonville at Indianapolis, both AFC South rivals. This was interesting. I'm a Tennessee Volunteer college football fan. Richardson did a pretty good job as quarterback for the Volunteers in his final year before he got drafted. Of course, Indianapolis picked him up. Can he lead an NFL team to victory? I don't know. I'd like to hope so, but I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't. Because college and NFL metrics are very, very different. To be a successful college quarterback is very different to being able to become a very successful NFL quarterback. So that is my big question mark there. And of course, with with Jonathan Taylor wanting out of Indianapolis, I don't blame him. He's young enough to go to a far better team and have a chance at a playoff run or even a Super Bowl berth. He is very talented, very good, very young. There's a lot of teams you can see him going to, getting behind their line and just marching right down all the way to a Super Bowl berth. I can't really say too much with Indy. I don't see them winning this. I don't see them being good in their own division this year. I think Jacksonville will beat them. I think Lawrence will probably at least get 2 or 3 touchdowns against Indianapolis. I can see it. Stephen Gilmore got traded to Dallas, which I got thoughts. We'll get into that. So I think this is going to be an Indianapolis rebuilding year, and I think Jacksonville is going to take full advantage of it. Shut up, phone. So I think they're going to take full advantage of it, and probably have a good dominant victory over Indianapolis. This is going to be a rebuilding time for Indianapolis. I think it's been a rebuilding time ever since Luck in his early career left and kind of put it back into perpetual rebuilding mode, like a lot of teams. Uh, Detroit being one of them. Uh, yeah. But that's it for that 1 o'clock game. Then we go to Tampa Bay going to Minnesota to take on the Vikings. The days of Tom Brady are over, folks. Tom Brady has finally retired. Finally. If he unretires and comes in before the trade deadline this year, I'm going to lose my fucking shit. I'm done. I like it's weird seeing the new crop of NFL quarterbacks because I grew up in a era, we had the late days of Marino all the way up to the last days of Peyton and of course your Breeze and now Tom Brady. So I've seen a lot of quarterbacks, a lot of great quarterbacks in my time. Brett Favre. I've got to see Troy Aikman's last run there early on. So it's really going to be interesting. And this just in, Travis Kelce is ruled officially out. So Travis Kelce will not play in Detroit or against Detroit tonight. That's one big weapons loss for Mahomes, but I think with himself and other weapons, I still think Kansas City's going to win that handily. But back to what I was saying with a lot of those great quarterbacks are now gone. Now we're in the days of our Justin Herberts, our Patrick Mahomes, our Justin Herbert. I'm not even going to classify Dak Prescott because he's a functional quarterback. He is overrated. I will admit that. And I'm a Dallas fan. I don't drink the Kool-Aid. I know he's overrated. He is a functioning quarterback that is now in the injury stage of his career. But regardless, Tom Brady's going for Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay still has a lot of good offensive and defensive pieces. I don't know if Baker Mayfield's going to be the quarterback to bring those out. Kirk Cousins, you can say what you want about him. I see him as a very successful, functioning quarterback. I don't see him as elite. I'm sorry. He's a very functioning quarterback, kind of like, I don't know, like a Trent Dilfer for the Baltimore, or not for Baltimore, for Seattle years ago. He's a very functioning quarterback. I don't know. That was Baltimore. It was I'm trying to think of. I can't think of who it was for Seattle, but yeah, Trent Dilfer for Baltimore. Even though it was Baltimore's defense that led them to a championship, Dilfer was still a functional quarterback that can be counted on and consistent throughout the games and throughout the years, which I mean Kirk Cousins is. He's proven that. He's a good enough quarterback that he can lead his team to a victory or end up losing some of them with some bad throws and interceptions. But still got Justin Jeffrey, even though I'm sorry Cooks is gone. I still think you're going to win against Tampa Bay. I don't know if it's going to be as dominant as what we've seen years before with your offensive weapons now that you've lost a few of them. But I still think it's going to be a good win against Tampa Bay because that's another team I could see. I could see the NFC North being Minnesota's to lose with the transition of the quarterback reigns in Green Bay with Aaron Rodgers leaving and Love taking over. Chicago, that's just a coin toss mess. I'm sorry. I like Fields. He's a good kid. He's got potential, but I'm sorry, that team is a fucking mess in Chicago. That team is a fucking mess. And Detroit has no goddamn shot this year. They'll probably show flares and signs towards the end, like last year, and the year before, and the year before, and the year before, but it's going to be Minnesota's division to lose, folks. I'm sorry. I do believe we just have a few more 1 o'clock games. Our next one, Tennessee traveling to New Orleans. Derek Carr leading the New Orleans team, which I hope he does good. I really do, because of being thrown out of Oakland. But I think Jimmy G is going to be a better fit for Oakland for right now than Derek Carr. But I'd love to see him be successful and rub it into his own team's face. Now, Ryan Tannehill in Tennessee, of course, you have Derrick Henry. That's I think for the past few years, that's all Tennessee has needed is Derrick Henry. Uh, that's it. It's kind of like Pokemon back in the day, because anyone around my age remembers that. It's like, what's the ultimate card? Just Charizard. That's it. That's all you need. It's kind of like Derrick Henry. That's all you fucking need. Uh, so I don't know. I want to say Tennessee. I want to say it's a 7-point game, maybe 14. Because even saying that with Derrick Henry, if you can stop the running game and force them to have to go into heavily passing, I think that hurts them. New Orleans, on the other hand, they have a lot of good pieces there, a lot of aging pieces that has been there. Like Thomas has been there for the longest time, so it's going to be a close game. Tennessee by 7 or by 14 points. I don't see New Orleans winning it, but I think they'll at least get at least 1 or 2 scores on the scoreboard. Now the next one, I will be watching this one because I want to see. I've never liked Pittsburgh. I've said that. The 49ers come to Pittsburgh to face the Steelers. But I will say they had a very good, solid quarterback with Ben Roethlisberger. Now that he's gone, that's another one that's left. Kenny Pickett's. Or Pickett, I mean. I get Pickett and Pickett. It's confused all the time. But what I'm saying is, with Pickett, I never thought too much of him when he first played. But then there were sparks when he hooked up with Pickens. Those two are a tandem combo, kind of like a Burrow and Chase, or a Jefferson, whatever quarterback that throws to him right now. It's Cousins, but I still think with any quarterback that throws to him, it would be dynamic, because I think Jefferson is just that good of a receiver. But you see this tandem for Pittsburgh in their rebuilding time, the time after Roethlisberger, you could say. They still have Tomlin, but the time after Roethlisberger, you're going in a new direction. This is a good tandem for them to do that with. I really do think so. You could build up a few more wide receiver pieces to give Kenny some more weapons, so he doesn't land on his ass. You have Najee Harris, who is a talented enough. We've gone from the days of the bigger running backs like Emmitt Smith, Bus, Beast Mode himself, to a lot of the smaller backs. Like I saw that with Dallas with Ezekiel Elliott, that big back you would see, and then Tony Pollard on the opposite end of that. So, and Najee Harris is very, very talented, very, very good at very good feet, and offensively they have a good. They're not so bad off. They're maybe just going to win 4 games. They're lucky. They could win 8 or 9 games. They're that good enough team. Against San Fran, that is a very good defense. Kittle is questionable, so that's an offensive piece that's out. That is. You still have McCaffrey. You still have Debo. You still have Samuel. You still have a good chance to beat Pittsburgh's defense. Um, this is probably going to be controversial. I really don't care. I think Brock Purdy, give it a couple years, I think he will be very, very good. I think he will be the next star quarterback coming out, the next franchise quarterback coming out. And I thought that at the end of last year, seeing him play during their postseason run, of course they weren't going to get that far because it just wasn't going to happen, folks. It wasn't going to happen. I think he's going to be very good in a couple of years. Give it 2 or 3 years, he's going to be elite. Now, he does have a very good offense around this kid. So if you can't become great with that, there's something wrong. But I do think they're going to beat Pittsburgh. Probably, I'd say no less than a 14-point game. Um, I think Pittsburgh will score, get at least a couple touchdowns in there. That's a positive thing for Pittsburgh. Now, if they can rattle Purdy and just shake his confidence up on that defensive line to where it's like just bullet coming at him with bodies flying to kill that kid, you could win it as long as you keep up a good passing attack against a defense that I'm sorry, all you need is San Fran's defense, but we're gonna see. We'll see. I still think San Fran wins it, 1 or 2 scores. I still think Pittsburgh puts up a couple points. I would love to see some Pickens connections in the end zone because those are some crazy combinations whenever they score. It's good. Those two are good scores together. Um, and then our last 1 o'clock game for Sunday, which is the abysmal Arizona Cardinals taking on the Washington Commanders. I tried to break down every game in week one to see where I can see maybe one team coming out from the other. This one's just a straight up shit fest on either side, folks. I'm sorry. I'm a Dallas fan. I've consistently watched the NFC East. Washington has been in the trash since the little spurt RG3 gave him whenever he was in there his first year. Um, God. And I'm sorry, Arizona has been a disappointment uh with their I can't think of his fucking name, but their star quarterback that has done jack and shit since he's been there. I want to say Washington because it's at home. Hopefully Chase Young just tears into this backup with Dobbs. That's who's backing up Arizona now. I hope Chase Young maybe just gets a couple hits on him. I think that'll rattle him to where they try to go to the run game a lot. Will probably get shut down. But I'm going to say Washington wins this probably by 3. I don't see much scoring in this one with either team. In this one, I don't. But that's it for our 1 o'clock games for Sunday. That's my predictions on them. We'll see if I'm right. Who knows? We'll see if I'm right. Um, but we go into our afternoon games, our 2 afternoon, 3, 4 afternoon games, five, 5 afternoon games. Okay. We'll start with our first one we're going to cover, which is, I guess you could say, the changing of the guard in Green Bay. Green Bay's going to go on the road to Chicago against the Bears. It's a changing of the guards. Watson and Dobbs are questionable. Who knows if they're going to be ruled out? Kelsey was ruled out, right before we started, so there is that. Um, Being a changing of the guard in Green Bay, I can see them. I can see them losing to Chicago because is Love good enough to lead a team to a divisional win, to a consistent level of wins, to a championship, to a Super Bowl? It's really going to depend week by week for Love of how he does consistently. Now that he's the man, Rodgers is gone. Rodgers is in New York with the Jets. He pulled a Brett Favre, left Green Bay, went to New York. If he leaves New York in a couple years and goes to Minnesota, I swear to God, I'm going to lose my shit. But I think Chicago wins this one. I think this will be another 7 to 10 point game. I don't see Green Bay doing too well in this one. I think they're going to get knocked around. So I think Chicago will take that one. Justin Fields gets a early divisional win against Green Bay. Like I said, I still think it's going to be Minnesota's division to lose, but that's just me. Our next one, we have Jimmy G taking his new crew with the Raiders, taking them to Denver to face Russell Wilson and a newly coaching staffness of Sean Payton. Will that turn Denver around? Because we thought last year Denver was going to go to distance. They just got Russell Wilson. Still has enough go in the tank. Still has enough ability to get there. And we saw what Denver did last year. Nothing. Can Sean Payton, the coaching guru that built New Orleans up and got them to a Super Bowl and a lot of NFC championships and divisional championships. Could he do the same thing for Denver with the team they have? I hope so, because I would hate to see, Russell Wilson's last hurrah is just a giant shit show after all the good years he had in Seattle with the Seahawks. Judy is questionable for Denver, so that's going to be a piece missing. If he doesn't play, I mean, if they do rule him able to play, then that helps. But depending on how much will he touch that ball? I want to see Jimmy G win this. I really do. You have Josh Jacobs. You have a good running back. You have Adams. You have Myers. I want to see Raiders win this one, but at the same time, it's not going to surprise me if Sean Payton ends up turning this team around and we see them play like they should have with all the fucking hype when Wilson got traded to Denver. With all the fucking hype. If he plays like he should have, this is probably going to be an easy win for Denver. But I still think Jimmy G going to Las Vegas, going to the Raiders, is going to be what they have desperately needed. Derek Carr is another one of those functioning quarterbacks, but Garoppolo bit higher in quality and skill. So I wonder if that's really all they needed to be a successful force. Granted, they're in a division with the Chiefs, and it's the Chiefs. It's the Chiefs' division to win or lose this year. We all know that. I still want to see them do well. I really do, but it's going to be the Chiefs' division to win. like I said, I want to go with Oakland by 10 points, unless Denver surprises me. Then I'll probably be eating that loss. I probably will, but we'll see. We'll see what happens there. Next, Miami going to LA to take on the Chargers. Here's another thing I saw in preseason, and maybe it's just Tua. I don't know. I'll have to see more offensively this year. He didn't look good in preseason. He really didn't. It was a giant fucking mess with Tua. For what I saw, you have a team with Tyreek Hill, with Waddle, uh, that tight end kid. They have that. Oh fuck, I can't think of his fucking name. Oh, I can't think of his name, but you have enough solid of an offense to get the job done. You have a good enough defense, but he's just very awkward and messy when Tua snaps the ball. And I don't think Tua is a quarterback for that team. I really don't. I haven't thought that since they named him the starter. But that's neither here nor there. That's their decision. Waddle is questionable for that game. We'll know more in a couple days. I don't think Tua is the right fit for that team. Herbert just got his re-signed contract or big deal contract recently. He's got his head in clouds. Hopefully, he didn't put his head up his ass because he still has a good enough team to get him wins, to get him a good performance for the year. Granted, I think it's probably Kansas City's division. That's probably how it's going to play out. But the best challenge in that division for them is going to be Kansas City. Or, I mean, is going to be the Chargers. So if they can beat Miami, if they can hold off the passing attack that Miami will have at their disposal, because Tua is clumsy. Tua is very, very clumsy, in my opinion. But when he does get that ball off successfully, especially to Hill or to Waddle, it's touchdown. It's touchdown. Those wide receivers are fucking phenomenal. Those two, great duo. But can Tua consistently do that? Because if I see more of the fumbling and stumbling like I saw in the postseason or the preseason, it's going to be a bad year for Tua. And he's already had one or two big concussions that has affected him. So we'll see how that affection goes on in his career. Because concussions, ankle injuries, uh, arm tears, that can really have an effect on a quarterback. We've seen that. But I'm gonna go with LA by 10 over Miami. That one, I still think the Chargers have a better overall situational team with that. I think two is the weak link in Miami, but I'm gonna give it to the Chargers by 10. I really don't want to talk about this next one. It's Philadelphia going up against New England. Fuck the Eagles. Fuck the Eagles. Fuck the Eagles. I've always been a fan of Mac Jones ever since I saw that kid. I think he has talent. I think he's good. I don't think he's in a good fit with Bill Belichick. I think the star power between Belichick and Brady ended when Brady left. I think it was both of them together. Granted, Brady had more success with another Super Bowl win in Tampa Bay, but I think both of them together really built that legacy for the good and for the bad. Deflategate, whatever, but a lot of goddamn championships, a lot of goddamn wins, a lot of success for both of their careers. Belichick hasn't been able to hit that back. I don't know if it's maybe Mac Jones' fault. I don't think it is. I think he is a talented enough quarterback. I just think he's in the wrong situation. Philadelphia is going to win this one hands down because I hate to say this. I fucking hate to say it. That is a good goddamn team. I've never been a fan of Jalen Hurts. I hate mobile quarterbacks. I hate the new age we're going into. I miss the days of the gunslingers and the pocket quarterbacks, but that day's gone. I'm getting old. Jalen Hurts is a good goddamn quarterback. I'll admit that. I mean, the whole line. Now that they added Swift in as running back, that's going to be a good receiver piece too because he's one of those new smaller, compact running backs I call them that are just such a dangerous weapon in the receiving lineup. You have Brown, you have Smith. That whole team is fucking stacked. And I hate to say this too. I hate to fucking say it. They're probably going to win the division again this year. I hate to say that. I would love for them not to, but I think they're going to win that division again this year. And I think the start of that's going to be against New England for the first win of the season. I could see them winning 14, if not more. I'd love to see Mac Jones have a good performance against them, but I think that defense is probably going to tear him up because he's a talented kid in a bad situation in New England. And Philadelphia is going to eat them alive probably by 14 or more points. At least. Our last Sunday night game, or our last Sunday afternoon game, the LA Rams going to Seattle to take on I guess you could say the luckiest quarterback to get a starting team after 7 to 8 fucking years is a disappointment. Geno Smith's Seattle Seahawks. Yeah, because I remember when he was drafted, I remember the mess those teams were in with Geno Smith. And then now he shows promise and potential, and he's got his golden ticket in Seattle, I guess. They're probably going to win against the Rams. I think the Rams are on a big, big downhill, especially ever since they won their Super Bowl ring. They still have very strong pieces. You have Akers as running back, who's a very good. He's a very good extra receiving weapon. You know, you still have talent, but they've been on that downhill since the Super Bowl win, and I think Seattle at home is probably going to beat them. I'd say 7 to 10 points. They're going to beat them by. Hopefully, Stafford can snap out of the just call it a wash year last year, but I don't think so. I think he's older at this point. It's going to affect him more with age. Uh, if Stafford makes it through the whole year, I'll be surprised. But Seattle wins this up by 10. We're going to go with that. Geno Smith, luckiest quarterback in the world. All right, we're going to go to Sunday nights where we have my Cowboys going to New York to face, the abysmal Giants. They've been abysmal. They will always be abysmal. Daniel Jones is not the quarterback key for them. The only player they have is Barkley that can constantly produce with the Giants. Their wide receivers, ever since they fucking got them, were a complete disappointment. I don't even know. I think they're in the secondary or they're off that team. But you shut down Barkley, you stop New York. And Dallas can do that with their defense with Michael Parsons. They've retooled that whole defensive line, especially with young Smith. I think he'll be a very good piece for that line. The only issue, and I will constantly have this issue because it was blatantly pointed out and shown and proven our secondary sucks. And I say this because we can either have 9 or 10 interceptions on the year constantly, or we can give up about 300 passing yards a fucking game. And I say this because I've seen it happen. I've seen before Gilmore got there, before that trade, it was Carr. Carr was an interception machine. Led the league with, I think, 11, 12 interceptions that year, but also gave up a goddamn amount of yards. Goddamn amount. And that was a big problem. Now, Dallas is thinking with Gilmore, we could stop that. We could stop that bleeding on maybe one side of the ball. And maybe they're thinking with their trade of Calvin Calvin Joseph going to Miami for a former first round pick, which I'm sorry, they're both the same quality. It's not really fixing anything. Nobody's getting ahead of this. Maybe Dallas with a cheaper contract, but it's going to be difficult for. And I get scared for long passes because Gilmore's towards the end. You know, he's still got life in it, but it's not like a Darrelle Revis where, you know, Revis Island was dominant for a fucking decade. I don't know. I don't know how the secondary or how the backfields it's baseball, but the secondary is going to do against the passing attack this year. I'd love to see it stopped. I think they have their fixes on that line with all the pieces that can either Bobby Boucher kill quarterbacks on the opposing teams, shut down the running attack, and force them to go to the air. But if they could not back it up in the secondary, that is going to hurt them. Regardless, on offense, Dallas has way more on paper, way more offensive pieces than most teams. You have a good, solid dual running back system with Pollard. You have Vaughn, you signed recently. He was a rookie they got, which very talented, very good. Wide receiver core with the pick of Cooks, you have CeeDee Lamb, very young, very gifted. You have I'm blanking on his name. Michael Gallup, good old reliable Michael. And you have Dalvin Cooks as your starting lineup. With the backups that you have with Turpin and what have you, very good starting three wide receiver lineup. Tight end wise, very good group core. They've gone from like the 1-star setup to a more of a duel to more of a team overall setup with tight ends with very good tight end groups. You know, Ferguson, very good. The rookie they picked up, and I can never remember the third guy's name, but on paper, very good offensive unit. Again, it's going to come down to Dak. We're coming off a year where Dak threw just as many interceptions as he did touchdowns. A lot of interceptions. That has to stop. That has to stop this game. That has to stop right now. Because if it continues, you might get into a playoff berth, but you're not going to go far. You're going to be lucky that you got there. The interceptions need to stop. The turnovers need to fucking stop. And this is the game where they need to stop at and carry over throughout the season. Another thing, Dak Prescott, now later in his career, is injury prone. We've seen that when he was out. I think it was 6 games last year. We saw Cooper Rush come in, carry the team for what he did. Got destroyed in Philly. Threw on the best show he could, but yeah, Philly took that advantage and just reamed us. But we reamed them back whenever Hurts got, or they. I don't think Hurts was hurt. I think they just sat him out. Had Pettigrew start, or maybe he was hurt and coming off the hurt. But we had their backup at that point. We squeaked out the win. Uncle Jerry decided to, I guess, get an insurance policy for that. So he called up San Fran. They were having a huge quarterback room at that point. And he got Trey Lance. I'm sorry. I thought this kid was a bust after his first goddamn season. I know rookie seasons are a mess. But Trey Lance's, there were sparks, and then there was just a shit show. That's what that was, folks. And I don't see it. I don't see how he's going to be any better in Dallas. I mean, he's a young kid that still has a lot of play left. But I've seen a lot of stories ever since he got drafted, and I agree with him because it's a different mentality and mindset because of this aura around the Cowboys. The first second Dak gets hurt and goes out, in comes Trey Lance. If he has a good game, it's going to be, oh, he's the next quarterback. He's the next quarterback. When in no way, shape, or form should that ever be the case. Dak's going to be the quarterback until he retires. He's the Cowboys quarterback until he's done. Kind of like Romo was before him and Troy Aikman was before him. That's their franchise quarterback right now is Dak Prescott. They're going to go with it. Dak Prescott is talented, overrated, but talented. And if he goes down and gets hurt, this is what's going to fucking happen. This is going to be the media circus behind it, like it was with Rush the year before. We don't need this anymore. Young Trey Lance does not need this at this point in his career after leaving San Fran after the underperformance and underwhelming show there. Cooper Rush doesn't need this. Fucking Christ, Will Grier doesn't need this. This is their quarterback room. And this is what happens because of that aura of the Cowboys. I think if Uncle Jerry did not get Trey Lance, if Dak went down and Cooper Rush came back in, there would be no more discussions like there was last year. There wouldn't be, because we know the place. We know Dak is the man, and we know Rush is his backup. Now, an unnecessary media circus waiting to happen. Thanks, Uncle Jerry. Dallas has this one by 14 points. Which takes us into our last game, our Monday night game. I will be watching this one because I want to see this because I felt bad for Buffalo ever since the years of being great in the 80s and 90s, going to 4 Super Bowls back to back and just losing all 4 of them. I felt so bad for them, and it's good to see they have success with young Josh Allen. It's very good. You know, they have Stephon Diggs. I said Carr. I meant Diggs. Stephon Diggs is the brother of Dallas's Diggs at cornerback. I said Carr. I had Carr in my mind. I miss those days with Carr in the backfield. I miss those days. But Buffalo, a perennial top contender in the AFC for going to the Super Bowl every year. Very stacked, very talented team. They're going to New York to face the Jets and their newly acquired Aaron Rodgers quarterback action figure doll with Kung Fu grip. How that has gone over the ages, we'll see, but will it be lackluster? We'll see with the age performance. Brett Favre still had a good showing after he went to the Jets. Aaron Rodgers could still have a good showing. You have Hall, who's questionable, who's one of those young, talented running backs that New York has, but he's questionable. God, that's been an interesting pick ever since they got Aaron Rodgers, and old Zach Wilson just basically got the shaft after 2 years. They're like, "Oh, we're going to be good now," and Zach's just like, "What the fuck, bro?" But can Aaron Rodgers perform like he used to before his slump towards his later years at Green Bay? It's a new team, new environment. Maybe that'll happen. It happened with Brady. Brady got his groove back when he went to Tampa Bay because the last couple of years he was still good in New England, but I think that that change of pace brought back a little bit of the old Tom Brady we used to see. This could be another scenario. Aaron Rodgers could have a fresh change of pace, have a new team, and go out there and just blow up the scoreboards. Still don't think they're beating Buffalo with how Josh Allen can run that ball with his offense up and down that field. Still don't think they're going to win. I think if Aaron Rodgers plays good, they'll have a good performance to go into the future. Do not think they're going to beat Buffalo. I do not in any way, shape, or form. Best case scenario, New York loses by 7 against Buffalo. Best case scenario, worst case scenario, 21 points or more. I think Buffalo. I think Buffalo wins that one regardless, and they're going to come off of that with a good win, and we'll have a feeling where, especially a lot of these young rookie quarterbacks are after their first game, and some of the new faces like your Aaron Rodgers, your Jimmy G's, that are Derek Carrs that are starting off in new fields and new areas to see how they perform. It's going to be interesting. I think after this week, I'll have a lock for who's going to take the divisions. I still think Minnesota is going to have a lock for the NFC North. I still think Eagles for the NFC East. That hurts me to say. Um, NFC South, I think that's going to be up for grabs. It really is. The NFC West, probably 49ers again, probably. Um, AFC North, I still think that's going to be Cincinnati's division to lose, even though Baltimore is going to be right up there with them, depending on how everything goes this year with their offense and with their quarterback. But I still think it's going to be Cincinnati's division to lose. It's going to be Buffalo's in the AFC East. It's going to be theirs to lose because regardless of what you think with Aaron Rodgers and the Jets, we still have to see the performance. We have seen dominant performance over the years with Buffalo. Ever since the change of power of Tom Brady leaving that division, we've seen other teams win. The AFC South it's such a mess. I think it's going to come down to Jacksonville and Tennessee. That's probably who it's going to come down to. Either one of them. I'll go with Tennessee, but I think Jacksonville is very very on the rise. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting this year to see the change, the last of my generational quarterbacks is finally gone. Um, it's a new game. It's a new face. If you're a wrestling fan, it's a new day, I guess you could say, in the NFL. And I was leaning towards more Legacy's old theme with DiBiase and Rhodes than the New Day. No disrespect to the New Day, but still. It's going to give us a great year as we prepare for these 16 plus weeks of regular season, postseason, and of course, leading up to the NFL draft for next year. We have a lot of rookies to evaluate after the first few weeks because I don't think one game is going to show us completely, but it'll give us a good starting line to see how they do in real action, unlike preseason, which is unneeded. I think it's basically there for the second rounders and the third rounders to secure their spot on the teams. We see a little bit of the first string teams each week, then by the third one, they play a good bit of the game, but whatever. I don't judge preseason by anything unless there's a big injury that's really going to affect the team, which that has happened before. I I think it's going to be a good start of the year. We're going to see some big wins, some heartbreaking losses, and as I can always say every year, I really hope the Eagles lose every game and just go 0-16. That'd be great, but that's not going to happen. They're probably going to win the East this year again. I hate to say that, but I think they're the better overall team in the NFC East. I've stated my others with that, but this is just rambling now. We've gone over the games. Next week, we're going to try to go in. Hopefully, my schedule works where I can do it more of a Tuesday or Wednesday, and we can go over the news. We can go over the past games, get ready for next week's games. But this is kind of an early start to it to get a feel for a format for it. I will appreciate your input for any comments you want to leave, any messages you want to leave with it. For anyone watching this, hopefully you've enjoyed. Hopefully you've got something out of it. If you disagree or have any comments with it, leave them below in the comments. We'll go from there. Leave your likes, your dislikes. Every bit helps me gauge and view of what to work on, what to change, what to keep going with. But this is the first episode of TM Smith Reactions NFL Talk Week 1. Next week we'll come back with Week 2. Try to hit within a Tuesday or Wednesday window in the future. This one was late due to just working schedules. It's just the time I can get free. So we'll try again next week for a sooner date, but tonight's going to start the NFL season in just an hour's time. So here we go, folks. Hopefully all your teams do well, but God, I hope mine just go to the Super Bowl and win it because I haven't seen the champion to them, but we'll play around with them more. But we'll see you next week, folks. Goodbye. God bless. Keep talking football.